Good day, everyone, and welcome to our video presentation, where our aim is to provide a concise overview of our paper titled The Logic of Regulatory Impact Assessment from Evidence to Evidential Reasoning, now published in Regulation and Governance. My name is Kati Rantala. I work as a research director, and joining us soon on another screen is Professor Jaakko Kuorikoski. Unfortunately, the third author of our paper, doctoral researcher Noora Alasuutari, couldn't join us today. We all work at the University of Helsinki in Finland. We begin our paper by critically exploring the role of evidence in regulatory impact assessment. I just call it RIA from now on. So it's about ex ante impact assessment in the context of regulatory proposals. So the exploration of evidence in this setting led us to construct a comprehensive and logically robust argument framework for conducting and evaluating RIAs. Our focus is on the process of inference that takes place in RIA seen as reasoning. One result of our analysis, or as one result of our analysis, we advocate for a shift in terminology. Rather than using terms like evidence-based or evidence-informed RIA, we propose referring to RIA as evidential reasoning. This terminological change stems from the inherent nature of RIA, which is focused on the future rather than aiming to explain past or present phenomena. Now I will pass the floor to Jaakko, who will delve deeper into the crucial elements of RIA as evidential reasoning. Following Jaakko's presentation, I will come back and draw key conclusions regarding the significance of adopting our model, and I will shed light on some practical implications for its utilization. But now, Jaakko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kati. So, as already said, in contrast to standard understanding of evidence-based policy, which naturally emphasizes the importance of direct empirical evidence of effectiveness of already existing policy interventions, we model RIAs as exemplifying evidential reasoning in which diverse forms of data are mobilized in an argument for a probable impact. This idea is very similar to the one presented by Nancy Cartwright and Jeremy Hardy in the context of many development policy interventions. This impact argument, which is loosely based on Stephen Toulmin's general ideas about argumentation, situates both deductive reasoning steps, such as calculations of what formal implications a new proposed regulation would have given the current distribution of relevant variables, like here, and different forms of inductive reasoning steps, such as what could be the plausible behavioral effects given what has been observed elsewhere. The main function of presenting evidential reasoning in this explicit argument form is to help identify the various uncertainties and conditions where proposed regulations may not function as anticipated. So our main contribution to literature is, we think, explicative. But one further point we wish to emphasize with this argument construct is that whereas much of the evidence and data taken into account in most cases of RIAs is quite naturally about the current conditions and the existence of a problem requiring new regulation, something around here, evidence is also required for the feasibility of necessary implementation and impact mechanisms, such as resources to make regulation understandable for those subject to it and those enforcing it, as well as for the necessary behavioral changes, as well as for the improbability of adverse behavioral effects created, for example, by unintended, possibly perverse, unforeseen incentives. Of course, many of these things are things that you might not as easily find quantitative evidence, but they require evidence regardless of this. Now back to you, Kati.
Thank you, Jaakko. So as we learned from Jaakko, by being better able to identify critical points involved in RIAs, we can gain a better understanding of risks and implications of regulatory proposals. The value of our work is in offering indeed a logically valid, comprehensive argument model for RIA that applies to all kinds of methods of assessment. It's good to notice that this model is not about conducting reliable impact assessments, because that can be very challenging due to the complexities of the real world of implementation and the insecure nature of the future. But rather, with our model, it is possible to enhance the credibility and transparency of the RIA process, which in turn may also help design more functional regulations. Identifying weak links in reasoning can, for example, expose underlying political interests that may impede transparent presentation of assumptions. Failing to acknowledge the inevitable uncertainty of policy impacts in general hinders meaningful political debates on alternative framings of problems, solutions, and values. We illustrate these kinds of aspects by examining 2 RIAs of regulatory proposals by the European Commission. One concerns the protection of the environment through criminal investigation, and the other one concerns the intelligent transport system. To conclude the paper, we offer a checklist for designing RIA policies and guidelines, for conducting RIAs, making decisions based on them, and for evaluating their quality. For example, in deductive reasoning, significant assumptions should always be explicitly identified and their uncertainty addressed, whereas inductive reasoning benefits from understanding impact mechanisms and contextual factors affecting them. Exploring contexts where proposals may not work allows for designing additional measures to mitigate potential unintended harm. So we hope we have been able to capture your interest in our paper. We warmly welcome any comments and are happy to engage in further discussion with anyone who is interested in this topic or our paper. Many thanks for your attention.